Hi everyone, this is Bo from Bo to Fitness, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the best substitutions for unhealthy foods we commonly eat. Now I'm just going to say this up front, there's no way that on my whiteboard here that I'm going to be able to fit every single kind of substitution, but I did want to try to go through some of the top ones as well as give you some ideas and some tips and things to think about when it comes to figuring out how to create your own substitutions. So let's start off with first defining what is the bad things that we currently eat. And we've talked about this a little bit in a previous video, but I just want to clarify for those of you who may not have seen that video, what it is we mean by bad foods. So I use this little acronym, CRAP, C-R-A-P, CRAP, calorie dense, refined, artificial, and processed. Calorie dense, meaning there's a lot of calories jammed into a little space. Refined, the things have been chopped and ground and pulverized and made into a very, very small particle size that's rapidly absorbed. Artificial, so we're adding a lot of preservatives and chemicals and things that mess with our brain and our ability to control our appetite. And processed, which can be a variety of things, everything from being cooked and ground to mixed and so on. So as we looked in our last video, we saw that the foods that are most addictive and the foods that are most difficult to control our intake of are foods that are blends of fats and sugars. Then you throw some salt and some other MSG and stuff like that in there, and you have a really addictive food. So the more processed it is, the more it contains fats and sugars and starches all blended together, the more difficult it is for us to not overeat that food. So some of the top foods that we looked at in that list, and this was from a University of Michigan study, were things like chocolate was number one, ice cream, pizza, cakes, cookies, those kinds of things. So let's look on the other side here at healthy, what we want to be eating. The kinds of foods that we want to be eating are essentially just the opposite. We want to be eating whole foods whenever possible. We want those foods to be using the kind of a little acronym, sort of, if this helps you remember. So think healthy. So H is high in fiber. We want high fiber foods, and these foods have the fiber stripped out of them in most cases. Enjoyable. So we do want to enjoy our food, and we want to make sure it tastes good. And if we do enjoy it and it's satisfying, we're more likely to stick to our diet long term. A is a lot of raw food. Raw foods have a higher thermic effect. They're more difficult to digest than other foods, and subsequently they contribute to fewer calories and they increase metabolism a bit more than many cooked foods do. Low energy density. So we want fewer calories per bite. To give you an example, 1 cup of spinach has only 7 calories, whereas 1 cup of olive oil is over 1,000 calories. Right? So the giant difference there in calorie density. We look at 1 cup of carrot would be like 45 calories, whereas if we did 1 cup of chicken, it's 336 calories. So again, very big difference in calorie density there. We want to be eating from that low energy density side for the brunt of our calories for the day. Thermic protein. So our diet should contain thermic protein. Protein increases metabolism. It's very satiating, and so we want to make sure we're getting enough protein as we go through our day. H2O high. So we want high water content. So when we look at foods in Barbara Roll's research here, she published most of her work on volumetrics. She really emphasized that we want high water content food. So this doesn't mean we're just drinking water, but it means the food itself is high in water. So think like instead of raisins, we'd eat grapes. Instead of eating, even just solid foods, by blending them with liquid like a soup, soups have been found to be more fulfilling and more filling and more satiating for even longer than oftentimes many whole foods were. So for example, one interesting study on U.S. soldiers, they gave one group of soldiers chicken, vegetables, and a glass of water, whereas the other soldiers, they took the same food, but they just put it in a blender and blended it up a little bit so it was kind of coarsely blended to make like a chicken soup, a chicken vegetable soup. And then they measured soldiers' satiety, not only how full they felt, but how long they felt full. And what they found was that the soldiers who ate the soup meals felt fuller significantly longer than the soldiers who ate those whole food meals. So there's something to be said for soups and satiety. So soups are great weight loss foods, by the way. Finally, you feel satisfied. And this kind of has to do with enjoyable here, but satisfied, we mean foods that fill you up, that have high satiety. They make you feel full for very long, so you're less likely to want to be eating all day long. And typically foods that are higher in fiber, higher in protein, higher in water content, lower in sugar, lower in fat, are going to be more satisfying, more filling, produce more satiety than most other foods. If you want to check this out, there is a satiety index that we'll be talking about in another video, that we're going to be going through the list of the best foods for weight loss, and you really want to check that video out. We're really going to be looking at what are the best ranked foods when it comes to weight loss according to the research. But that being said, that's for another video. Let's continue with this one here. So we have I just put a list of 7 of some of the commonly higher calorie dense foods that are commonly consumed, to look at what some possible substitutions might look like and ways that we can kind of tweak some of the food that we currently eat right now. So number 1, chocolate. Chocolate is, people are always talking about all the benefits of chocolate, and the fact is there are some good things in chocolate. The problem is when we mix that chocolate with oils and sugars, right? It's not the sugars and oils that are there in most cases naturally occurring. If we go straight to the cocoa or the cacao powder, there is all sorts of zinc and magnesium and good nutritious stuff there. In Jade Teta's book Metabolic Effect, he talked about how having some cocoa powder and making a healthy hot cocoa can actually be a good way to suppress appetite. So you can take some unsweetened vanilla almond milk, put in a couple scoops of dark cacao powder, and then use a calorie-free sweetener like erythritol, which is one of the safest artificial sweeteners, to mix that up, warm it up. You could put in a little bit of protein powder in there, like a vanilla protein, and blend that in and make a really rich cocoa drink where you get that chocolate. It's warm, it's satisfying, and it gives you a little bit of that chocolate taste. Other things that help with chocolate is making sure that when you do have chocolate, you have some way of controlling the portion. So rather than going out and getting a candy bar, get like a biota bar, right? I make little bars where I put little bits of plant-based chocolate in each one, but each one's only got a small amount, so that way we're not going to go crazy with it. So have portions and ways of controlling your chocolate intake. And that would actually be one of the next ones. Candy bar, brownies, cakes, cookies, things like that. Find a healthy alternative. A healthy protein bar, a whole food bar. I created for myself these bars I call biota bars because I wanted something for gut health, because I found this connection between gut health and weight and longevity. And so I really wanted to have something that was going to make me feel full and satisfied, that was high in fiber, but tasted good. So it also gave me something I could eat when I wanted to not be eating something bad. And so that's why I ended up creating those bars. Pizza. Pizza, yummy food, but it's coming from the cheese and the fats and the oils and the sugars and the starches. So what we want to do is just do a lower calorie version of pizza, like high fiber English muffin pizzas, and we want to load them up with veggies and protein and make them very filling. We can still use sauce and garlic powder and low fat cheeses and things like that, and we can make some really, my mouth's watering talking about this. These things can be delicious and very, very filling. French fries. French fries is the oil in most cases and the processing of it. A lot of times you find your French fries at the restaurant, it's way more than just potato and oil. They got all sorts of other chemicals in there too. So what we want to do is make our own homemade fries where we slice up potato strips, bake them on parchment paper. You can season them. You can get like a healthy ketchup to dunk them in, or some other sauces like mustards and things like that. But you could also do rutabaga fries, and you can season them with garlic powder and onion powder and pepper and make some really yummy fries and bake them till they get crispy, so they're like chips. If you want like a chip substitute, put a little bit of salt on top, and you got a really good salty, crunchy snack that's wonderful. Similarly, we could do like buttered popcorn. Instead of buttered popcorn, we make some homemade fresh popcorn, and we can season it. If you want to give it like a cheddar flavor, you can use like a nutritional yeast, or you can even use a product I love. It's called Parma. I get the one called Better Than Bacon, and it has like a cheddar bacon flavor, and I'll put that on my popcorn, and oh, that stuff's amazing. It's delicious. Ice cream. Ice cream, again, once in a while we can get away with small portions of this, and if we're careful we can go out and we can find some, nowadays there are some healthier alternatives to ice cream that are lower calorie, like the Halo and things like this, that they're lower sugar, lower fat, higher protein. Those can work for some people, but you can also make some delicious homemade ice cream that is great. I like to make in my Vitamix. I'll take some frozen bananas or frozen fruit, depending on what type of ice cream flavor I want to go for, and I'll put it in my blender, and I'll put in a little bit of almond milk. I'll put in a little bit of powdered peanut butter and some cocoa powder, and I might even throw in a little bit of some plant-based coconut whipped cream. And I'll just put a little bit of that all in, and I'll use a plunger, and I'll plunge that in until the ice cream is real thick. And at the very end, I might sprinkle just a few little chocolate chips. And I got this really yummy peanut butter chocolate chip ice cream that's absolutely to die for, and with way less calories and fat and sugar than you would find in a your ice cream that you buy at the at the shop there. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is, tastes good, but again, most peanut butters these days are, unless you're getting the stuff where the oil separates and whatnot, it's got a ton of saturated fat, hydrogenated oils. We want to substitute out maybe with like a powdered PB. That would be a great substitution there. And you can just add a little water, almond milk, and mix it up, and that's great. And then lastly, bread. For bread, go with whole grain, very heavy, dense breads as substitutes for these light, breads. And these things are going to be lower glycemic, really, really nutritious, very, very filling. Hope you found these suggestions helpful, and if you would like more information or more suggestions, we could always talk, meet in person. This is Bo from Bo to Fitness. I look forward to talking to you in that next video.